Hello, and thanks again for joining us here. I'm with Ellie, another member of our PCOS revolution. And what we love about Ellie is she's a can-do kind of woman. If there's anything I've noticed about her is that she's always up to something. She wants to do it 100%, and she's not gonna take no for an answer. She's gonna find a way to get things done. Ellie has got a very busy life. She's an entrepreneur who runs a business with her husband. She has 3 children, plenty of pets, and you call it a hobby farm, right? It's not a garden.
That's correct. No, no, it's a hobby farm.
So you know you've got someone who is really ready to jump into something with both feet when they turn their garden into a hobby farm.
You know it.
So, Ellie, if you don't mind, I'm just going to start by talking about our first session. And what I noticed right away when I opened up your food journal, and we're just talking through your day and where your food, your exercise, and you fit into your day, I could almost see this picture of kids running around asking for things, you finally realizing you're hungry, walking to your kitchen, grabbing whatever you can grab, and just eating it because you're starving and it's hit you and you gotta eat and move on. How would you say that? Does that pretty much paint a good picture of what things are like for you?
Oh, absolutely. It's just like you said, my day is constantly crazy busy. So I would pretty much my kids would be like, oh, I need a snack. And then go into the kitchen and be like, you know what? I'm hungry too. Can't think of like if I had breakfast or lunch or any set meal. So I was just kind of like, well, I'll grab something too. And more or less, like we've talked about, I have a horrible problem with waste. So I'd be like, my kids are like, oh, I don't want all of this. So I'd be, okay, I'll finish it. And just like you said, kind of grabbing really what's ever exposed and available at the time. Because for me to just stop everything and say, okay, I'm going to make myself this gourmet fruit salad just doesn't picture in my schedule.
Right, exactly. And I can totally see you in that environment, and I can kind of get a feel for the freneticness of your average day. But I kept thinking, gosh, this poor lady, she's not taking care of herself in like one of the most basic ways, which is just eating, feeding yourself. You were kind of so putting yourself on the back burner that food was even kind of like, well, I'll get to feeding me when I get to feeding me. And what we noticed is when you looked at your food journal, I would say you were not happy about it. You were so hard on yourself on our first food journal because, and the truth was, there was like a lot of like sugar binges and like random convenience food type patched together meals,
Yeah.
right?
Oh yeah, I will be the first person to say or at least I felt like I was a complete sugarholic. I definitely have an addiction toward sweets versus the salty carbs or the bread so much. I'm like just like candy, anything sweet. So yes, I definitely my first food journal I was definitely like, man, I'm not eating well. Not setting a good example, I guess I should say, for my kids, because I'm always adamant on them, like one junk food snack a day, like that's their limit. And then I look at mine and I was like, you have like five. What is that?
Well, you always want better for your kids, right?
Right.
So we got to talking about all these things that you just mentioned, and I said, well, I think we just need to plan for you to eat. You need to think ahead about what you're going to eat before you get into the heat of the day so that you know that you have this time set aside where there's actual food that you want to eat and that you feel is nutritious so that you don't get into this place where you're running into the pantry and eating leftovers. I mean, that's not fair.
Yeah.
That's not fair to you at all.
No, yeah. Yeah, it was, I mean, I've definitely done the meal planning before. Like we've talked about, been so many different diets
Mm.
and plans and container counting and all this type of stuff. So I've had some history with the meal planning type of thing. It's always kind of like an intimidation for me, I guess, with just like, and I absolutely hate having the same thing all the time. That drives me crazy. So, yeah, we had talked about it, and it was definitely something in my mind, like, yep, I was gonna do and start off with.
And I think you make a good point that I think that this is so common for PCS women. It's like we have been down this road before with the Tupperware containers, with the rigid diet. And correct me if I'm wrong, but I think you half expected when you got on that first call with me for me to be like, no more sugar and get out your Tupperware and we're going to plan these perfect meals that'll make you into this perfect superhuman. And I kind of said, why don't we just set aside some time for you to like gather up food and make it into meals of food and you could sit down and eat them. Um, and to you, I think that, would you say that it surprised you a little bit? Like you're like, oh, well, that seems like a little bit easier.
Honestly, I was taken back by it, to be honest, because I was kind of hoping, actually. It sounds so crazy, but I was actually hoping that you were going to be like, this is, the plan, and this is, A, B, and C, and then, this is the no plan, because it just feels like for me, it's so easy to follow order
Mm-hmm.
versus putting myself out there and having to make those decisions for myself. Just because I know myself, and in the past I have really poor willpower. I'll be honest. And it's just like if I have something that's laid right out for me and says, the do's and the do nots,
Mm-hmm.
it's so much easier for me. It's what I need to do. So when you had said, no, no, we're not, we're just gonna watch everything, I'm like, oh crap, I'm gonna fail. This is gonna be
Oh.
awful. Just because I was literally nervous because like I said, I've never in the past, unless it's for something like I have an event coming up or something like that, where I was like, I really want to look good for this one thing, then I've ever put it in consecutive, like right into effect. So I was really nervous because I was like, I don't know if I'm going to be able to do this. And like you said, with my scheduling and everything, I'm like, are you kidding? Like, there's not going to be this like I thought, I'm going to fit this right in. This is going to work. So it provided me with a little more thought of how I was going to have to implement it with myself and my self-control. So it was really a test to how much, I guess, I was gonna put myself on the forefront versus everybody else.
Right. So instead of just clinging on to these like really rigid rules for maybe 2 or 3 weeks, so you could get into like, I feel like every woman has in their closet like that magic dress or something that they know they look good when they fit in that dress. Like instead of doing that again, I was like, why don't we just take this slow and see if we can change the way you live a little bit, just a little bit at a time.
Yeah.
And so, but what's awesome about you is you jumped right in. You said, okay, I'm gonna put my faith in what you're saying, crazy lady. And so we started working on your meal plans. And I think the idea at first was you're going to take time right before you went grocery shopping every week and you were going to lay out the whole week. And did that really work for you?
No,
No.
it did not. It was, I thought that I could do it. We've talked about before, like social media and all these different sites and, Pinterest and all these different things that show you like all these convenient ways that you can do it. And I said, all right, I'm going to full-fledged try to do it and set myself up for like the week, at least just the work week. And then it was like, I sat down and like all this anxiety hit me because I was like, I don't want the same foods every day. I can't stand that. And I have like so much time, and I was trying to put this time aside for me and for my life. I know that it's easy for a woman to say, oh, I want my me time. And that is great. But for me time to make meal prep without a child running into my kitchen, without expecting the unexpected with your own business, physically near impossible. So when I tried it, I just got super overwhelmed and I couldn't get everything done in one day. So then I felt like I wasn't completing my task, you could kind of say, or getting myself to where I wanted to be because I could, okay, I made breakfasts this one day for, for the week. And then the next day I tried to finish up my lunches and then I'd have something else come up. And it was like, okay, so each day I'd have only part of my meal planned. And it was causing way more anxiety in myself than just walking in the kitchen and grabbing and going. So, to do the weekly setup of meal planning, it was not for me.
Right. And I think when we came back on for our next coaching call, you gave yourself such a hard time about it. And I always say that, like, well, we just had the wrong goal. We just had the wrong strategy. You can't keep getting into this cycle where if you don't fit into this tiny square peg, if you
Yeah.
can't fit that square peg into your round hole, so to speak, that you failed. So we got to talking about it. And what I realized, and you realized pretty quickly, is that every day you pack your husband's lunch, right? Or at least you
Yep.
do if things are going right. And you
Yep.
said, maybe it would just be easier if I packed my lunch too. And to me, it was like, light bulb. That's the way Ellie needs to get it done. So, how did you feel now that we've kind of switched to this program? We've modified the whole goal of meal planning to be based around your reality instead of something we found on Pinterest or a blog.
Honestly, it's probably, I feel the most satisfied that I have in a really, really long time because
Wow.
I still like to do on like a Sunday. I still kind of do my dinners for the week, just like I make my calendar of kind of what we're gonna have. Now, that's not so much like I'm not prepping for whatever. It's just I like to do either my grocery shopping either Monday morning or Sundays, depending on how my schedule goes. And it's like, if I don't plan like my dinners out for the week, I get home from whatever we're doing and it's like, what are we going to pull out for dinner? Now I could pull out some type of meat, but in the morning, but then it's just like to have everything
Hmm.
planned for if I'm going to make a sauce or spices or
Hmm.
sides. So that part of it, I still am doing. But for the lunch and the breakfast aspect of it, it's been phenomenal because I have to take that time out when I'm either cooking dinner or in the morning. And I have to do that for my husband so that he's eating because, we have a very physical, labor intensive job. So if I don't make him lunch, I know that he's having junk. And then by the end of the day, he comes home and he's feeling lousy.
Hmm.
And he's just going through the sugar rush high and lows all day because that's what he packs himself if I don't pack. It's just sweet stuff that gets him going and then he comes crashing down. So I will pack his lunch, and at the same time, I don't feel like I'm taking any special time out for me because of the fact that this is a necessity to do. And how easy is it just for me to just say, oh, okay, I'm just going to make either the same thing, verify it a little bit, or, make a whole different thing, but it's at the same time. And like I said, I usually do it sometimes, usually while I'm cooking dinner. So I'm already in the kitchen. I'm already
Right.
having this time that I have to be in this area. And you know what? So what? At first I was kind of like, maybe I'll make myself like a little lunchbox and just put it in the fridge. And that way, it's just during the day, I'll just pick out my lunchbox and I'll grab what I have because I was worried that even if I made my lunch, I wasn't going to feel like I wanted that the next day because, some days you could wake up and you're like, oh, I really have a craving for this. So I was like, maybe if I just put it in a little box and I put it in my fridge, I'm going to say like, this is mom's lunch or, breakfast or snacks throughout the day or whatever. So in the beginning, like the first couple of days I actually did, I put it like in my little bag and I put it in the fridge and I was like, okay, breakfast, go to the bag, grab it out, put it back, lunch, that type of thing. Now I'm at the point where I don't even need to do that. I know I make the main thing for my lunch and then whatever veggies and fruits I want to contribute to that, unless I know that I'm going to have a busy day out of the house,
Hmm.
then it'll be packed. But otherwise, I'll have the main thing set in. I do the same thing with my husband, get it all set. And for now, it'll be a week. I haven't had one day yet where I haven't done it. And that is the very
Wow.
first time in a really long time because I made it through the weekend and everything. So
Nice.
I was proud of myself. I was like, I actually did it. And my husband has been super happy because he's getting homemade lunches every day. And he's like, oh, we haven't had a pack of peanut butter and jelly all week.
Oh, that's awesome. Well, I want to point that out to everybody. There's something key that Ellie points out is I think we think that like a PCOS friendly lifestyle is just for the person in a household who has PCOS. But a PCOS friendly lifestyle is healthy for the whole family. I mean, look at the benefit your husband's seeing from having like a more scheduled mealtime. You have two well fed parents now, which is important when you've got to chase after your kids. And I've seen your kids on the move, they require some energy.
Oh, yeah.
So I think that that's really important for you out there to take home. If you have a family and you feel like that somehow if you start adopting a PCOS friendly lifestyle that you're uprooting your family's traditions or that you're going to make your family uncomfortable, bring your attention to the fact that a PCOS friendly lifestyle is healthy for everybody. It's a good thing for the whole family.
It is too.
Yeah.
And I feel like it's not. And, restrictive wise, I know that there are so many things out there, whether it be gluten-free, dairy-free, all these different types of things. And, like you said, each individual is individual. So, I mean, if you have an intolerance to these things or whatnot, excuse me, I am thankful that I don't so much. I still do the dairy free except for like my Greek yogurt, but like the carb conscious like decisions that we make with the whole grains and everything, there are so many ways to liven these up and everything. And even if there are days in my house when we have baked potatoes,
Mm-hmm.
I have my sweet baked potato and the rest of my family has the regular, baked potato. It's little changes, and instead of, like you said, a whole huge thing, we're no longer having pasta. We are no longer having bread. Like, yeah, those changes would like not fly, I think, in anybody's house.
That's
So,
right. It's kind of easier to just sneak it in there and go, look, we're helping the
yeah,
PCOS and you get a lunch.
yeah.
And while these changes, it was a process definitely getting there. On the road there, I want to point out that just simply by you making some space to think through your eating plan, nothing else, no serious diet modifications, Ellie lost 4 pounds more or less in 2 weeks at her first weigh in. So I think it's important to point out that even though these big, sweeping, really strict dietary programs are popular right now, making simple, common sense changes like just planning what you're going to eat in a day can make a huge difference because you got back on the phone with me on that second coaching call and said, I lost 4 pounds and I don't know how I did it. And I open up your food journal and I go, well, silly, you naturally, without even knowing it, were eating 400 to 500 calories less every day. And where I saw the biggest reduction is you were naturally eating about 300 to 400 calories less of added sugars, in my estimation, just by looking at the two food journals. So that's 2 weeks you made this radical change and it helped your family too. So I just want to congratulate you on sticking with it because it wasn't a smooth road, and that's what I want everyone to take home here. It was a little bit bumpy. We had to change the strategy, but you kept working at it and you found something that's leaving a smile on your face. And it's giving you the
Absolutely.
results you were after. Yeah?
Yeah, absolutely. Like you said, I mean, for anybody, who I was, there's so many times when you hit a roadblock and you're like, this isn't working and I'm just going to give up. Or in the past, I'm horrible with binge eating because I'll go through these things where I'm like, this is not working. I'm not seeing these
Mm.
results. And then it's like, why am I doing this? I feel horrible. I'm eating all these foods that I don't like. I feel like a rabbit, all this stuff. And then you just like, you know what? It's easy to throw your hands up and say, screw it. Like, I'm just going to eat what I want. I'm not getting anything that I see and I feel, and I'm like, oh, I don't feel that much better. And yeah, the road has been bumpy. And for right now, it's, for these weeks that we've been doing, finding just, like you said, that small little shift in directions has for me made a huge difference. And if it's something that's small of, getting yourself so worked up over a whole week of meal planning to just doing it daily and feeling better, and like you said, not feeling like I need to snack all during the day or anything, it's been huge progress. So I think that is definitely a key point for anybody. Just, the small little things. It's like you said, one little small thing will keep adding up to one big thing in the big picture. So
Exactly. And it can happen quickly too. That one shift made a huge difference already in the way that you're eating. And I think I would say it's in the end you feel a little less stress about nutrition. You're a little bit less worried about what you're eating from day to day. I can see it in you like a weight lifted. So what I want to say to anybody out there watching this and they're thinking about making a change, that meal planning or thinking ahead about what you're going to eat in the day is a great way to start. And there's no wrong or right way to do this. Like Ellie and I just talked about, we thought that planning everything a week ahead of time would be perfect for her, and it wasn't. But that's okay because you can always find a way to do these things. You just have to be creative, patient, and kind with yourself. So thank you for listening. Ellie, is there anything you'd like to share with the audience before we wrap things up?
I would just like to say, don't give up.
Yeah, don't give
Don't
up.
give up, and don't be, and what I'm learning from Erica is to not be so hard on yourself, because as women and in the society that we live in, it is the easiest thing for us to be like, we're never going to get to this image, or we're never going to feel like that. And it's super easy for us to just be, you know what, I give up. I give up on myself, or we're not good enough. And week by week and day by day, I'm continuing to learn that more and more I am capable, and I'm not as horrible as I think that I am.
No,
so
you certainly
don't
are
do that.
not.
So don't do that. So anybody who's listening, stop thinking that you're not this, you're not Wonder Woman, because none of us are. So
Exactly.
that's what I would conclude with. So
Okay, so you heard it right from someone who is in your shoes. Don't give up. You can do this, and you don't have to do it perfectly the first time. Okay, everybody have an awesome day, and thanks for listening.